Okay, hello and good afternoon slash evening to everyone. By that hi, I assume that means my audio is working. Look at me getting way better at this as time goes on. So as I promised, I definitely had to go and get tea. But with that, welcome to the latest version of Foundry, our first release of Pathfinder 2nd Edition for version 10. No, not in your microphone, but I did finally spend some time and set everything in the room up properly. I even have sort of blackout curtains behind me, so I'm no longer glowing. Not that it necessarily does a ton for my looks, but you're not here to see me. You're here to see the latest release of the Pathfinder system. So why don't we make it daylight here on our plane of air? So we have started to put in everything for rules-based vision, which is absolutely fantastic. That being said, this release will come out shortly. It will be missing things. So if you are perfectly happy with version 9, stay on version 9. Um, we're starting to add things in, but if you watched, for example, the demonstration of lighting, we haven't built in things like see invisibility yet, or tremor sense, or a whole bunch of those different things. That being said, what I'm going to show you today does not have perfect vision. So there are only currently 3 modules active. Dice So Nice is on because I like shiny dice. The Foundry dice set because I like the Foundry dice set. Quick insert because it's a pain in the neck not to have it. And token action heads up display because I want to break rental stuff. So rules-based vision, that's the big one. If you go into our token vision settings now, you'll see that we have the little bot. This is sort of what is being set up by rules-based vision. You'll notice that you can't go into detection modes and add it. We've locked it out for now. But all those site things will be eventually built in as part of the system, which is why we've locked it out for now. If you want, you can always disable it. You do not have to use rules-based vision. But if this is a deal breaker for you, I suggest you just wait until the system's sort of caught up. By 4.2 or 4.3, we should have all of these things in, if not sooner. Some of our coders are insane, and they like to add things. And, well, you'll see how awesome they've done so far. So to show off rule-based vision, obviously everything during the day works fine. But let's turn out the lights a little bit. So we'll go to darkness, and I'll select Ezrin over here, and you can watch as we get below the darkness threshold, all of a sudden, all of his companions have disappeared. You cannot see. You can still see in, you can see the fringe of the bright, you can see where it's dim light, and that's it. If we hop over here to Drugami, who has low light vision, he effectively sees the same thing, because effectively he does see the same thing. There is currently not a mode that will show you all in here where it's low light vision. Maybe at some point we'll add that. If we swap over to Fumbus, however, you can see that his dark vision works just great. And again, this is all without rules-based vision. And let's say we've got Amiri here, and let's just upgrade her to a Fetchling. So now you see, with her Fetchling vision, compared to everyone else, so you can see that in the darkness, there's the light being emitted, there's the low light, and then everything is sort of enhanced. You can see that the colors are brightened up. Compared to Ezrin, if we just turn on normal daylight, you'll see that this is sort of the normal color palette. It's not enhanced. So the Fetchling vision now is Fetchling vision. You get that black and white coming through in really strong color. And yeah, again, this has nothing to do with perfect vision. Perfect vision is not installed. It is not turned on. So this is all the system's doing. So we can watch here. This is what it looks like as we now make it dark outside. You can see what happens with Fetchling Amiri's vision. Better if I have her selected. Well, that would have been a cool demo. Creatures from the bestiary have updated vision as well. I don't think we've even bothered to touch that yet. I don't know if we will. However, Ezrin here, upset that everyone can see him, he casts invisibility on himself and goes invisible. So you see he's got the little invisible token. But if we look to Amiri, Drugami, even to the wizard, totally gone. And you set the dark vision color in the system. At this point, I don't think so. It's supposed to be black and white. It's set based on rules. That's why it's rules-based vision. You probably can do your own thing, but that might start to bridge into module territory. Like I said, this is new for us. This we literally added over the past 2 days. So you can ask lots and lots of questions, and I will not have lots and lots of answers. So we have Amiri back. Can't see Ezrin because he's invisible, but we get rid of the invisibility. And he comes back. I'm looking forward to future streams when I'll get to show off all the cool senses, but like I said, we are not there yet. In fact, if you look, we are literally calling this 4.0.0 Alpha 1, so this is not even ready to go out yet. We might put it out for the public, but again, unless you have a convincing and compelling reason to start using version 10, we strongly suggest you hold off for now. So other cool things. Fetchling Amiri, let's see what happens when she rages. So you can see she gains temporary hit points, and she now has a secondary bar showing her temporary hit points. So that's something that you can now see. Anybody who has temporary hit points, they'll show up. I actually don't know what happens if you have more hit points than the bar. I think it just goes to full. Yeah, it goes to full and overruns. So that's all built in. Other cool things that we can do. Let's go to items. So here we have items. What I will show you is that our new items, traits have always been a pain for data entry. Not anymore. We can make it a good ring of the weary traveler. Other cool things that we've done. We now have our second new, we'll say front end for doing rules elements. So if you want, the grant item is now like the note rule element. You can put it in a much easier format than this version. I mean, you can still type it in that way if you like. We're not taking the editor away, but this now does exactly what you want. So let's say that this ring, now that it is good, it grants the effects of a dark vision elixir. So we'll say we'll just drag that in. Oh. Or I'll just do it the easy way. Take the ID, put it in, and then you'll see that it's correctly entered. And because it now grants dark vision, let's make this a level 8 item. Doesn't really matter for anything we're doing. So here's Ezrin. Let's give him that ring. And voila, it now gives him that effect. This is an example. You probably wouldn't want to do it this way. It's just showing that GrantItem, that's how you can enter it. This is probably a weird use case that you probably shouldn't do, but you can, and it works. In addition, some of our effects now have counters. Let's say you want to modify, I don't know, what's a good effect? Yeah. I don't know, let's say that we'll make our 8 effect last for a couple of rounds, but we want to count it. So we can now go to our effects tab, and we can add a counter intrinsically. Let's say this 8 effect's going to last for 4 rounds. Now we can keep track of it. And then you can increment it and decrement it the same way that you've done with other things. So let's say you make an effect for poison, and you want to indicate the stages. It won't change anything yet, but you can say, okay, you're at this stage or that stage. So that's another cool thing that we have. We've got counters into the effects. With that, we have done a little bit of reorganization. So for some of you who've made macros that are a little bit outside of the system, you'll probably want to pay attention to this part. So you'll see that we've reduced the different compendiums for effects. So there's now bestiary effects. This is where the NPC will go. Campaign effects are campaign-specific ones. We've kept it into its separate folder to sort of avoid spoilers. There's equipment effects. Then all feat and features are together. All spells are together. And the last is other. Other has the useful additional effects. So aid, aquatic combat rules, cover, follow the expert, scouting. It's what's in there so far. As we add more effects that sort of deal with that realm of things, this is where they'll go. We think it's a little bit nicer of an organizational structure. There might be a couple stray broken links out there, but if you do have them on your macro bar or you're doing custom things and referencing them, just be careful because their paths will have changed because they'll now be in a new location. So Compendium, PF2e, other effects. Your macro won't be calling that at this point. Something that helps us out a lot. In addition, with the new journals that have built in, it's now letting us do some interesting things. Like we have the built-in GM screen. So the GM screen module, this is still a work in progress. Again, this is not probably going to be what's final for what's going out. This is us starting to convert things over for 4.0. Once again, sort of calling this alpha. But all of the things that you normally need, they're around here. As you want to remember hero point rules, there they are. So all the rules we can get away with putting in, we do. Here you go. ABP, there's the rules for automatic bonus progression. So when you say that we're doing it wrong, then we'll just say, look here. Lots of work still to be done. This is just sort of the start of having this ready, but it's all built in. There's also the player screen right at the start for the players to be able to reference things. So it's there, it's useful. We've also started doing things like putting the domains in, so it's really easy to go through. Just what was there before, but now organized into a single journal. And same with archetypes. Archetypes are kind of a neat one because you can go to the archetype and then you can see all of the feats that are built in. So they're listed, easy to see. Other than that, we've put in the Lost Omens travel guide. It's in this release. There's lots and lots of other data entry fixes. Obviously, we now have the Bloodlords Volume 2, or Book 2 actors in, although that went into the final release. So for those of you who want to install Bloodlords, make sure that your release is up to date. The 0.6 version, the very, very last one. So to show you what happens, I do have a couple of worlds set up ready to go. So I'm just going to log out of here and let's talk a little bit about premium content. So the first question is this usable if you have premium content? And the answer is yes, you can migrate it forward. So I have a Bloodlords version world that I created on version 9 and installed in my version 10 install. So let's launch and see what happens when we do this. So you'll get the normal warning. It's going to migrate it forward. And actually reading this, yes, this is exactly what we want to do. So rather than cancel, which if you do not want to bring your world to version 10, hit the cancel button, you click begin migration. And it will bring it forward. And so I can log in. And the world is playable. There should be nothing really wrong with this world. So it'll migrate all the actors and anything else in here forward. And you can see it migrated perfectly successfully. What will happen is some of the journal entries are going to look a little bit weird. Why? Because they're not formatted for this version. They're just going to work the way that they did before. Everything that exists is going to work the way that it did before. So if you don't want spoilers, don't look at them. But there you go. Like the journals are there, they're fine. Again, formatting is a little bit off because they're not. It's just not ready for version 10, but it's 100% playable. All of the actors themselves work. So there's nothing wrong now with taking the premium content that you own, so long as you've installed it on version 9 and bringing that world forward to version 10 once this is on. Again, do I recommend it? No. If you've accidentally migrated your world forward and you need to play, then yes, this is the way to go about doing it, and it will work, and you're just going to have to deal with it being a slightly not premium experience. It's still better than what you're going to get somewhere else. All of the beautiful stuff works, all of the audio works, all of the other things that are built in work. So we'll go back, and now let's see what happens when we try in version 10, trying to install the version 9 world. I actually don't know what's going to happen here, so it's exciting for me too. A literally brand new world. Have to turn on the modules. I don't even know if this will work. I think it might just fail out because the code doesn't work anymore. So if you try and do it, yeah, the code just doesn't work. It's not compatible with version 10. So if you haven't installed Bloodlords yet and you want to, if you just go and purchase it, it won't work on version 10. It's planning, all the version 10 updates are planned to be done in a couple of weeks. Again, you have to understand that we've only been able to get the system ready now. After the last release, because there were a couple of bugs that were pretty critical to us getting the system working the way that we need it to work. It let us have a little bit of time to get some of the vision stuff working, but it just wasn't ready. Which now means that with this version that we've got out, it's close enough that now someone like Sigil or Foundry itself can go and start updating those files reliably. And I know that Foundry's been working hard, as has Sigil, to do this. I won't quote exact times. I do know that Foundry, I think the beginner's box is almost ready, and Abomination Vaults won't be far behind. And Sigil is planning on having all of this up to date for about the same release time as the next book of Bloodlords. So if you're playing Bloodlords and you think that you're going to get ahead, or you're finishing up book 1 and want to install book 2, like I just showed, you're going to need to stay on version 9 or have a version 9 install available, install the module, and bring it over. Otherwise, like I said, just be a little bit patient. So you can see the game's fully playable. It definitely works. It's kind of cool, some of the stuff that's built in. There's lots more that's coming in the next couple of releases. So if you want to update and find all the bugs for us, you can. Just be aware of all the limitations that I've showed you and the changes that have happened. If you don't want to do that, then don't. Stay on version 9. It's very, very, very playable. You're not really missing anything other than some of the travel guide items and NPCs. So with that, I think that's everything that I had to talk about tonight. So I'm just going to scroll through the chat and see if anybody had any questions for me. Do enlarge. Hold on, I'll go back to the demo world. Oh yeah, that thing. So there you go. That's what happens when you do enlarge. It smoothly scales up. It's something that I believe was added in Foundry and add as well. So dynamic growing and shrinking. There a timeline for when the beginner's box will be ready for V10? Other than soon, I'm not in a position to comment. It's made by Foundry Gaming itself, not by the system developers. I think it's almost ready to go, but I don't know when they're going to push out a compatible version. I'm certainly not going to say, oh yeah, Foundry's going to have it done tomorrow, because A, I can't promise that, B, I don't know that, and C, that would just be plain mean. And as Atropos pointed out, a lot of people have been pretty demanding about this release, so please be nice to your developers. Yeah, it's definitely an option. If you are looking to try out V10, there are ways to install V9 and V10 side by side. The Foundry website tells you exactly how. Uh, Otherwise, There is a module that's posted in both the Foundry Discord and probably somewhere in the community one that lets you check which modules. That's a module now that checks which of your modules is up to date. So if you have 120 modules, you're probably going to be on V9 for quite a while. If you're somebody who, like me, had perfect vision and pings and not much else, well, I don't need perfect vision or pings anymore. So conceivably, I can get pretty close to upgrading my world. That being said, I am GMing at a convention tomorrow, and I am definitely running in version 9. Well, Rico the Bold, I will suggest with your 70 modules that maybe it's a good time to see which ones you actually need and want. And I would remind people that don't wait on modules forever, because there's some developers who might just not want to continue developing their module, and that's fully their right. Modules are a gift to the community. Well, in that case, you definitely won't. If you're planning on playing Kingmaker, you can probably wait a little while before you install V10. I think that Foundry hasn't committed to that until the new year. With that, thank you all for coming. Hopefully, this was interesting and gave you an idea of where we're at with the system development. Again, this isn't publicly available. At some point in the next day or two, we might push this out to be able to be downloaded. It will require V10, so if you are on V9, don't worry, you shouldn't be able to accidentally update. And if you do, I'll apologize and then install the system, and I will send you the manifest link to get the right one. You're all welcome. I wish you all a very pleasant evening, and we will probably have a new stream in a week or two showing off a couple new and amazing up and coming things that I definitely am not going to spoil at this point. Have a good night, everybody.